Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 43 of the Fair Housing Insiders. And today we take a trip back a little bit into a topic we haven't spoken on in a long time. And that's really just fair housing itself, the basics of fair housing. So, Michael, why are we bringing this subject back to the table today?
Jonathan, good to talk to you as always. Before I get started, I would like to do a quick shout out to the 2022 National Championship Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan. I can't help myself. I've been waiting a long time to say that out loud, and saying it even over YouTube is just nice.
I'm sure we're going to get YouTube comments like crazy now.
A lot of hate. Bama fans, bring on the hate in the comments. I'm fine with it. It's okay. But that has nothing to do with our topic. Let's move on. Right now we're bringing it back up because I feel like there's a lot of shift in the industry right now. Everybody knows that there's a labor shortage and people are changing. This is already an industry with a decent amount of turnover in it. But right now it makes it more important than ever to make sure that everybody knows what they're talking about, because people are hopping in between industries. They're transferring between jobs, which again, has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's important because the training that we provide needs to be foundational for everybody. So we're kind of rewinding a little bit and talking about the basics again, just to make sure that those people that are jumping from industry to industry, those that are new into it, or maybe those that have been in the industry for a while and they just kind of need to step back and talk about this issue again. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why we're here today.
Right. Yeah. Always timely. Good points too. Yeah. It's lots of moving and shaking within property management these days.
Absolutely.
So let's get into some of our discussion points. So in your experience, who does the Fair Housing Act apply to?
Sure. Okay. That can become a very complicated question, but let's just simplify it for the sake of the discussion today. The Fair Housing Act applies to anybody that rents, leases, sells any land or any property or a unit or dwelling. So if you work in the housing industry, it's very, 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 very likely that the Fair Housing Act applies to you at almost any level you're at.
Right. And would that include like vendors, industry partners, anyone who's doing work on site? Is that also part of that package?
Yes, that's a very good point. Yes, absolutely. Vendors, contractors, if they're on the property, if they're interacting with residents or guests or prospects, or even in the real estate industry, yes, those all apply.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. So why does someone working in property, why is it so important I'm in property management and it's like fair housing, fundamental, it's in their face. Why is that?
Well, we can talk about, obviously we talk about the basis of law. The Fair Housing Act was designed to allow everybody to be able to choose the home that they would like and be able to enjoy their home and the amenities that it comes with. Because owning a home or having a place to call home is part of the American dream, right? So that's the much, much bigger picture. But let's narrow it down a little bit. For each individual employee, understanding the Fair Housing Act is a way of kind of protecting your job. As in every career you've ever had, any task you've ever done, there are kind of rules that apply on how you go about a certain task or how you go about a certain job. And the Fair Housing Act really affects at many different levels how you perform your job. So it's not just as easy as looking out for your tenant or your resident's best interests. It's not just, having the best intentions. It is understanding the policies and procedures that need to be in place in order to protect your company, to make sure your resident has a favorable experience on your property, and to protect your career.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want all of our community members and those who take the Fair Housing Institute courses, like you want it to become second nature. Like it just needs to be ingrained in you so that it becomes part of your natural everyday process, understanding that that's part of the fundamentals. So that kind of leads us to go ahead, Michael.
Let me circle back. Sorry about that. And just say that I guess I told you why they need to, follow the Fair Housing Act, pay attention to it, but I didn't kind of discuss what it looks like if you don't. If you don't, nothing good is waiting for you.
Right.
Unfortunately, obviously, you can get involved in fair housing investigations. Your residents can launch complaints against you. You can get complaints lodged against you by testers that have actually no interest in your property. They're just there to make sure you're following the law. And if they find out that you're not, get ready for an investigation, a lawsuit that costs time, that costs money. that costs legal fees, that can cost careers of multiple people on your property. Not to mention, it does not look good from a marketing and PR standpoint. If you have a bunch of investigations launched against you, that's probably going to lead to some very bad reviews as well, which is a very important part of the industry right now. So again, just to give you a better picture of what following the Fair Housing Act looks like on the, the do and don't side.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm glad you included that. Yeah. Good to know. Lots of, there's lots of ongoing cases on a regular basis for those who haven't complied with the Fair Housing Act. So
Yeah.
good. I'm glad you brought that up. So that leads us to, all right. So property management as a whole has so many different so many different departments. You get revenue management, asset management, maintenance, leasing, sales. So when it comes to fair housing, where does that apply? Like what aspects of property management would you say fair housing applies to?
Really all of them. Absolutely every single one of them. The kind of differences is how it applies to each of them. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different from a maintenance employee to a leasing employee to somebody that works in accounting, to somebody that works for your customer service phone line, to somebody that is further up in management and they are directing your policies and procedures. Right. They all need to know different elements of fair housing, just like their job has different responsibilities. They have different responsibilities to the Fair Housing Act. So a maintenance employee might need to know best what to say to a resident when certain questions come up. Like if a resident approached a maintenance employee and said like, hey, what kind of people live here? Or like, hey, this is a no pets property, but I noticed my neighbor has a dog. Those both have fair housing implications behind them. Somebody higher up in the chain, up in executive management, somebody working in the legal team, they may never speak to a resident, so they may not have those responsibilities, but they need to properly communicate those kind of messages down the flagpole. Not to mention they get involved in writing so many policies and procedures. Some people think that fair housing, following fair housing laws and guidelines is really just how you respond verbally. But a lot of it is how you set up your policies and procedures at the top to be followed by every level on down the flagpole. And if management at the top is not doing their job, making these policies and procedures, there's really not a lot that can be done on the ground level to help themselves because they're kind of set up for failure. So, people that work in like asset management or that work in accounting, again, they may have different responsibilities. They may need to know different things that will come up in their day-to-day work, but every single level needs to understand at least a base of how the fair housing law works and how it applies to their job.
Right, right. And I think it would be safe to add, it doesn't matter what size your property management company is, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're 20,000 units or if you're 500 units.
Or if you're 10. Or if you're 10, it applies at every single level. Some people think it's just the big guys that own properties in every state, but it is not. It is John and Jane Smith that own 6 or 7 properties around the neighborhood.
Right, exactly. Fair housing testers definitely do not discriminate on the size of the property management company.
No, they do not.
We can see that in all the case history. Good. So just to reinforce it, I know you kind of touched on it with that commentary there. True or false? Only those working in the office should take fair housing training. Upper management and maintenance, they don't need it.
Yeah, absolutely false. We did kind of cover that, but just, again, it's just a look at the different responsibilities that we all have. Just like every other job, every job, hopefully, that is within a company is important. It serves a different role. Same thing here. Your role in terms of how you follow the Fair Housing Act and provide a safe and hospitable living space for your residents, it looks different at every level. But you have to understand how to do that first. It's not just going to come naturally. I wish this stuff was just basic logic, but it's not. You really need to understand it.
Right. Very good. And it's important to have regular training. It's not something that you can take a fair housing course once and be like, poof, it's all in there. It sticks. There's a lot of things, right?
The day that we invent a course that you can take one time and you're just good for the rest of your career, I will be so happy. We'll do a YouTube episode all about it, and we'll probably get a lot of money because we'll figure out how to teach somebody something once and they remember it forever.
Yeah. It's just, unfortunately, it's just not how the human brain works. Our retention level just isn't that good.
Yeah.
Fluctuates a little bit different for every person, but yeah, absolutely. Got to keep in touch with all this stuff. Yeah, very good. All right. So that takes us to our next segment. And now, as we wrap up episode 43, we're going to do our Fair Housing Fast Five. So, Michael, are you ready for your 5 questions? And let's see if you can get them answered in 60 seconds or less. Are you ready?
I think so. Let's do it.
All right, let's hit it. Question number 1, does the Fair Housing Act only apply to federally subsidized housing?
No, the Fair Housing Act applies to everybody that provides housing.
Is a landlord permitted to discriminate against an applicant with poor credit?
Yes, credit can be a discriminating factor. It just needs to be applied consistently to everybody that applies.
Do landlords have to screen applicants?
Legally, no, they don't, but the overwhelming majority choose to for their own protection.
Very good. What is the only protected category that includes an exemption?
That would be familial status. Certain senior properties can discriminate and say that no children are allowed to live in the property, which comes under the status under familial status.
In responding to a request by an applicant or resident, what is the only protected category that a landlord must take into consideration?
Usually we're talking about reasonable accommodations and modifications here, so I'm going to go with disability.
You are the first one in 2022 that has answered 5 questions in under 60 seconds. You win our grand prize of the Georgia Bulldogs won. Yay!
Hey, all it took was me answering the questions right, and they finally got that championship.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, well done. 56 seconds. So that's really good. So good questions, good teaching points for all of our audience. And remember, everyone, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do so. A lot of wonderful information is there. It keeps you in tune. As we've highlighted, fair housing is not just about taking a course, and it's not just about watching our YouTube videos, which we're very grateful for. We thank you to all the training directors who reach out to us and say that you're using us as part of your curriculum. But the newsletter contains so much more. Good reminders, links to our blogs, links to other resources. So please sign up for that. So we'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Take care, everyone.
Get your training, folks.